YouTube, welcome to the top 16 of the Meta Weekly. That is right, we are banning Poplar again. It's the last time we're banning Poplar. After this, we're going to be abiding by the newly announced Konami ban list that's going to fix the entire meta. Guaranteed, right? Hopefully. And with that said, by watching as long as you can, that greatly supports me. Thank you very much. Hajime.
There can only be one winner, and you're looking at it. Let's go.
We have 60 card Dragon Link versus 45 card Dragon Link, setting up the branded Regained, activating Safer to send from the hands of the graveyard. This could be quite risky because it plays into a Veiler or Impermanence, where otherwise it could send itself to the graveyard, dodging the Imperm or Veiler, but they could play around that by activating their card early. And now we end our turn, setting up the Baldrake. What do we have here? In addition to the Borland being untargetable from monster effects, we could take control of it with the Triple Tactics talent. That is a really good play. It does have the quick effect of negating a monster on the field. We have Borland negate anything. We have Regained, which will reborn from the graveyard, the Dissipator, which will be a further monster negate. And we have the Branded Beast to pop a card in the field, and we have the Ash Blossom to negate an interaction with the deck. We have 5 disruptions to play through. We got One Finger Triple Tactics talent. Let's go. Rocket Tracer triggering the Regain to reborn the Dissipator. Activate, Combat the Grave, banishing the Dissipator. Not using Borload. We're going to instead Baldrake banish the Dissipator. Thus, we're not going to have the Dissipator disruption. Baldrake is here. That will trigger the Regain to return the banished Dissipator back into the action deck to draw a card. There we go. Drawing into an effect Veiler. Thus, we have another disruption. We're going to link off Rocket Tracer into Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon on summon, going to get negated from adding a Boot Sector launch. Negates. Now, normally the deck plays just one Ravine. Having double Ravine in the hand is quite interesting. Striker Dragon activating to pop itself to add back from the grave our Rocket Tracer, which we don't have a way to summon itself onto the field. We're going to be activating the Branded Beast because no player in their right mind plays more than one Ravine. What the heck is this? So we're going to activate it on its activation, but probably we should have waited for its activation of the effect, not the activation of the card. Thus, we would have had to discard a card unless we were scared of them getting a card into the graveyard that they wanted to have in the grave. But now we're going to activate another one. Activate, Rocket Tracer Mate, discard, send from the deck. Nothing, as the Borload negates the effect but does not destroy. It negates the activation of the effect that is. Now we have Triple Tactics talent taking control of your Borland Savage Dragon, Borland Regular Dragon that is. Negate the Borload, reborn the Rocket Tracer, take out the Borload, Rocket Tracer, 1600s to the face. Main phase 2, further linking this up into a Hieratic Seal. Now, I do want to note that with a Borland in the graveyard being properly summoned, you could, with any dragon, link off into a Striker Dragon pop itself, you then reborn the Borland through adding back the Recharger in grave. That is a 1-card way to reborn the Borland, and we very much have to be wary about that play. If they have another Striker Dragon in the extra deck, that is, which they do not, what the heck? I guess you could use a Bestial to banish the Striker, then return Striker, then normal summon a level 4 or lower dragon, then you get to reborn your Borland. We're going to use Safer in the graveyard to add the Lubellion in the grave back to the hand as the Heavenly Spheres is ready to spin a card on the field back to the hand. We're not going to stop the Regain from drawing a card as we just newly drawn into 11-year. We're going to send to the graveyard to come forth and grab our Druid Swarm. Setting with the Boot Sector launch to reborn from the graveyard, Rocket Tracer, pop in the Boot Sector launch to then summon from the deck a Caliber. We're then banishing from the graveyard to come forth and summon Druid Swarm. We banish from the grave what? We banish something that we're not returning with the Regained. We're going to trigger Regain to reborn from the grave as the Hieratic Heavenly Spheres summons from the deck a Magna Hut to trigger to add a dragon during the end phase. We now have our own Magna Hut activating to grab during the end phase, as we then synchro this up into a Dissipator that we returned back into the extra deck after banishing it, to then return a banished card back onto the field, which is why we didn't use Regain to return it back in the deck. And just like that, Honda-powered surrendering the Dragon Link Mirror match. Remus discarding to search for a Dragon Ravine from our deck. Activate that Ravine. And now the Sea Turtle has this weird effect. It states that if your opponent activates a card or effect, you can remove 2 Kaiju counters off your field spell, which you search for through the Ancient Fairy Dragon to negate the activation and banish the opposing card. Negate, activation, and banish. That is a damage step negate if we want to. Holy moly. We're going to add a Serenir through the effect of the Bestial Lubellion. Banish from the grave to come forth and summon Serenir. Tribute from the grave to come forth and summon our Lubellion. We have Serenir triggering to send from the deck a Baldrake. Lubellion setting up into the back row a Regained. Further showconning this into a Bestial Dissipator. We're going to be activating the Kaiju field spell, just keeps on activating to gain Kaiju counters. We have the Dissipator, special summoning a Banish, guarding of the 100 Apples Dragon back onto the field, as we then turn it into a Pisty. Now, Pisty can make a baby with the Saryuja because they're both pointing to the same spot to summon a Gay Durg for what? The 4th time we're Gay Durgin? Saryuja trigger. We're going to further link up the Pisty and Saryuja into a Heavenly Dragon Spheres. Gay Durg, activate, grab the Mist Valley Baby Rock to then discard it. Okay. The Mist Valley Baby Rock is triggering to then reborn from the graveyard after being discarded, to then make a Borreload Savage Dragon with the Gay Durg, giving us an Omni Negate. Holy moly. Through a Nibiru, we have Omni Negate on top of a second Omni Negate. We have spin a face-up card in the field back to the hand. We have Dissipator with the ability to destroy a monster in response to it activating. We got the Max C, which is not a disruption. We have nothing activatable in the grave, but this is pretty good. Let's go. Max C within the draw phase. Can we play through Quadra Disruption? Activating Dragon Ravine, discarding the Safert for the Kaiju Turtle to negate and banish the Ravine. Negate. Goodbye to the Ravine. Off the field you go. We have Black Metal on summon, triggering the Regain to reborn Abyssal from the grave. We're going to use the Heavenly Spheres to spin back the Black Metal back to the hand before they can link off into a Striker Dragon searching for a Red Eyes Darkness Metal. Now, the Baldrake is extra disruption. If they summon from the extra deck, it's going to get banished. We have Dissipator, which is going to now be able to negate because there is a banished card through the Ravine being banished. So by banishing the Ravine early, it turned on the Dissipator to get negating. Very well done. We have the Safert banishing from the grave to add back a Lubellion. This is not once per turn. Oh my gosh. I thought the turtle was hard once per turn. It can negate as long as you have 2 counters. And you gain 1 counter every time a card is sent to the graveyard. A card is sent from the field to the grave from either side of the field. Place a Kaiju counter. We still have 2 more counters. We still have 1 more negate on the Kaiju Turtle. A 3rd banish and negate is ready on that turtle mate. Regain, returning the banished Safer back in the deck to draw a card. Not big enough for the Nibiru to take out the turtle. Holy moly. And also not once per chain. That is, it's got 2 negates now. This is the ultimate negator. What the hell? Everything into attack position. To battle we go. Not even worth negating that set trap as we go in for game. And this was enabled through Ancient Fairy Dragon. If your deck can make a level 7 synchro, consider Kaiju Tower Field Spell plus Turtle for as many Omni Negates as you can get counters onto the field. The Valiant discard and get search, and we're not going to use the Ash on that. We're going to save our Ash. Do not let the opponent eat your Ash. You're going to have to persevere and be disciplined with it. Is it worth it to Ash the Striker Dragon? Well, it did not activate because they only have 1 Boot Sector launch mate. Magna Hut is triggering to add a dragon during the end phase. We're going to Druid Swarm, banish the Lubellion before it's summoned from the grave. We're now making SP to the Little Knight on summon, banish the Druid Swarm off the field, thus ending our turn into a Druid Swarm being added back to our hand from the deck. By holding onto that Ash, we can now negate a Max C. Much more beneficial. The Rox Rose Dragon is here. On summon, we're going to add a card that mentions the Black Rose Dragon from our deck to our hand. We're going to use Little Knight to banish itself, plus the Rox Rose Dragon off the field, as we now have the Basil Rose Shoot. We're going to use the Quick Launch to quickly launch a rocket onto the field from the deck, as we then chain Maxi to it, as we then have the Ash Blossom we held on to negate the Maxi. Now, let's further resolve this up. Rocket Tracer straight into our Striker Dragon. Activate to search for the Boot Sector launch. Effect Veiler to negate. Now, we don't have a good way to get the Rocket Tracer from our hand onto the field. How do we get it out there? And we're going to be following up with the Tempest Dragon Ruler to banish from our hand and grave 2 Dragon and or Wind monsters to then use the Tempest and the Striker to make a Romulus. Romulus is here. Activate to grab a Dragon Ravine, discard from our hand the Basil Shoot to grab from our deck a Remus. Remus will be discarding to add from our deck another Dragon Ravine. Remus will now be reborning from the graveyard because we have a Dragon Ravine, as we then go to battle to simply swing for 2k damage. Main phase 2, we're going to Heavenly Spheres pass. All right. Heavenly Sphere with the quick effect to spin a face-up card in the field back to the hand. Let's go. Drew a Swarm during the end phase, banishing from the opposing player's grave. We're going to top deck a Lubellion, which was prioritized to be banished by the opposing Lubellion, I should say the opposing Bestial, so that it would not be summoned. We're now going to, in response to the Heretic Seal attempting to spin a card in the field back to the hand, we're going to use the SP Little Knight, thus no card in the field will be spun back because both will be banished. But the Heavenly Spheres still being tributed is going to trigger to summon a dragon from the deck. And we do, of course, actually have to commit to spinning a card back, so we have to spin back our own Rox Rose Dragon. Magna Hut on summon, triggering after being summoned from the deck. We're going to chain Serenir, banishing the opposing Heavenly Sphere here, wiping out the opposing Magna Hut, which will be grabbing possibly a Lubellion during the end phase, as we summon our own Lubellion over our own Serenir to then trigger to send from the deck a Regained here, as we then set up a Branded Beast, which will play the Regained during the end phase onto the field. We're going to use Branded Beast to tribute off the Lubellion to take out the opposing Dragon Ravine. And now we're going to end phase, resolve back our Little Knight to come back onto the field. Regain plus the Branded Beast will give us the disruption of being able to pop any card in the field. Reborning Abyssal from the grave. We're going to be returning a banished card back to then draw a card. We have the Little Knight to chain banish in response to a card effect activating. Drew Storm if sent to the grave through the effect of the Branded Beast. After popping a card, we'll send another card in the field to the grave. Let's see what we can do. Lubellion, get searching for a Bestial. Do we care about that Regain triggering to reborn the Serenir? Taking out the opposing Lubellion, which cannot be reborned off of the Regained, but we're going to trigger the Regain twice. We're going to Chain Link block the ability of being ashed by returning a card back in the deck to draw a card, as the higher Chain Link will be reborning a Magna Hut from the grave. Magna Hut triggering to add a dragon from the deck back to our hand. We're going to tribute for our own Lubellion here before it activates. We're going to tribute off our Magna Hut with our Branded Beast to take out that Lubellion. We have the Rox Rose Dragon again, going to get banished by the SP Little Knight. On summon, activating to add from the deck a Black Rose card, which will be our Red Rose Dragon, but we already committed to our normal summon. We have another Dragon Ravine, which will activate to discard the Red Rose Dragon to search for a Remus. Remus will discard to search for another Ravine. We're playing triple Dragon Ravine here. Playing our third Ravine over the second to then discard our finger to grab a Legatus. Legatus is going to come forth and activate and special summon itself onto the field as the Remus reborns from the grave because we have a Ravine on the field, as we then make a Gay Durg. With no cards in the hand, whatever we add with the Gay Durg will be discarded, which will be Steam the Cloak. Steam the Cloak in the graveyard as we then activate the Tempest, banishing 2 Dragon and or Wind to come forth and summon itself onto the field. We're going to use the Gay Durg and Tempest to now make a Heretic Seal. Heretic Seal is here. I believe we're going to tribute it with the Steam the Cloak tributing to come forth and summon itself onto the field, triggering the Heavenly Sphere to summon from the deck a Red Eyes Darkness Metal to reborn the Gay Durg. Gay Durg adding a Zephyros to then discard the Zephyros to return back the Dragon Ravine. Now we just need another card to discard to use that Dragon Ravine again. Ancient Fairy Dragon is here again. Are we actually going to the Kaiju play? Honda Powered, I love your deck. This is insane. We're going to pop it, grabbing for the Kaiju Waterfront Field Spell. Activate the field spell, link off the entire field into a Saryuja. Draw 4, return 3 of the cards back into the deck, and we're going to have 3 counters on that Waterfront after searching for the Kaiju. And then we're going to special summon that Kaiju onto the field through the effect of the Saryuja. And we're also going to even give it a perma boost onto that Kaiju. Kaiju has double negate. Negate 2 cards and banish them. And it's going to be going up to triple negate soon. Pisty is going to be making a baby with the Saryuja, reborning the Gay Durg. Gay Durg is going to be searching the deck, then discarding a card. I cannot believe how good this deck is. This is absolutely insane. Samsara banishing to then add back from the grave the Magna Hut. We're going to tribute the Pisty for our normal summon Magna Hut. And now to battle we go. With over 10,000 damage in the field, the Druid Swarm within the damage temple will be negated by the activation negate of the Kaiju Sea Turtle, and also banishing that Druid Swarm from the graveyard. Banish and negate. And just like that, mate, with over 10,000 damage, Honda powered with Dragoonity Kaiju takes the duel. Ancient Fairy used to be banned, right? We unbanned Ancient Fairy after giving it an errata. And now look what it's doing. Salamangreat versus Revolution Synchron. What is this exactly, though? It's actually Tearlament. Tearlament, Revolution Synchron. A lot of mad lads are saying that Revolution Synchron is better than playing Horus, but what about playing both of them together? Well, we're about to find out if that's the case with this top 16 Tearlament deck. Hajime. Let's talk about the disruption here. We did search for the Ash. We have the Rage, which could pop multiple cards in the field. We have the Roar, which can negate anything. We have Promethean Princess, which could get popping on a special summon. And the Fingers are actually counted as disruptions against Tearlament. So that is 5, 6 total disruptions. Let's go. Gonna play through 6. Promethean Princess being triggered off the Fenrir, wipe it out. We're now down to 5 disruption. We're going to trigger the Sunlight Wolf, add from the graveyard back to the hand as the Raging Phoenix also triggers to reborn from the grave. Said 5 dam. Yeah, and if you're playing against Snake Eyes, they can't push your cards into the back row if there's no room to put in the back row, so that could be a way to stop them. Ash Blossom negate, reinforcement of the army mate. We still have our 4 back row activations. Finger, Rage, and Omni negate. Rhino sending from the deck a Havnis, but we have multiple fingers to negate. Limited to 2 finger, banishing and negating, limited to 1 Havnis. Havnis fingered, be gone. And now we have 3 more disruption where that came from. We have Sulliek. We're going to use the Revolution Synchron plus the Rhino Heart to make a Black Rose Dragon to wipe out the entire field. Now, you could chain link block the Black Rose from being negated had we kept the Sulliek in the hand. Oh, no, well, yeah, right? This is the card effect to send it to the grave, but we have no chain link block in sight. So we're going to Omni negate, Black Rose Dragon mate, negate. You can't. The Rhino does not trigger off a Revolution Synchron. So it is on the resolution, the effect, it then performs the Synchro, so it's not sent to the grave by card effect, is what you're saying? It's actually, it doesn't even activate. It's a normal Synchro using the effect of Revolution Synchron to be used in the hand. So correction, we did not have a good way to chain link block the Black Rose, and it was not because we set Sulliek. If you control, where is it? If you Synchro, if you're just to perform a regular Synchro, this is not an activated card effect. It is going to be used in the hand as the material. Okay, there you go, understood. Normal summon Mudora. Mudora is activatable while on the field. We do have Havnis, which could chain to a monster effect on the field. Come forth Havnis, summon in mill 3. I do think this is a good Ash Blossom to negate the Havnis. Now Mudora could spin Spinny back into the deck as a form of disruption. There you go, Gazelle sending a Spinny from the deck to the grave. We're gonna chain Maxi instead, but if we chain Cross Out Designate, I think I would chain my Mudora to spin it back. Right? To spin back the Spinny, not our own card. But if they use Called By, we could use Mudora to spin it back, which is apparent by why we didn't use the Call by the Grave. So dodge the finger, so the Cross Out Designate's the good play. But still, Mudora on Spinny? No. We just let it go through. Because we're going to Super Palmerize the field instead. discard the Trivikarma, fusing with the opposing field to now make a Garura. And we do have Mudora still ready to activate to spin cards from either player's graveyard back into the deck. But there's no play to make, forcing us to not use the Mudora. We don't have to use it. We have a Tearlament field spell here being searched for by the Trivikarma, being discarded by the Super Poly. Sharon discarding a monster from the hand to come forth and summon a mill 3, triggering the effect of Havness being sent to the grave by card effect, Chainlink blocking with the Beast to then draw a card and fusion summon, just like that Pariah Life, losing as we have Mordred taking game 2 thanks to that Super Poly play. As someone was asking earlier, how good is Super Poly? That was pretty damn good. By the way, if you were banned from Yu-Gi-Oh! For knocking someone out unconscious by punching them in the face, Konami then unbanned you once they took the game over from Upper Deck. That was pretty cool. Salamangreat Circle adding on top of this chain to search our deck for a Salamangreat as the buffer low is going to be discarding a card to draw 2. Now, after all of that, what do we have? We have negate anything. We have pop up to 4 cards on the field. This is a target destroy, right? No, it's non-target pop 4 cards on the field. We then have Ash Blossom negate. We also have Promethean Princess pop a special summon card or disruption to play through. Good luck. We have Foolish Barrel Goods, which will send from the deck to the grave of Trivikarma. Trivikarma will banish. Both effects are ashable, but we're holding on to that ash. We're not negating. We have Heartbeat to spin a back row card back into the deck. We're going to use Salamangreat Roar to negate the Heartbeat. Now, we're negating the effect of sending a card from our hands to the grave, which could trigger a Tearlament effect. We now have triple disruption. Tearlament Scream is here. Summon a Rhino. Chainlink block with the Scream. Thus, the ash cannot be used on the Rhino, sending a Tearlament from the deck to the grave. It could have negated milling 3, which we did randomly mill a Havness. Havness will be chainlink blocked by the Tearlament Kashtira to mill an additional 2 cards here as we fusion summon into Kitcow. Kitcow is here, returning Havness and the Seamere from our hand back on the deck. Kitcow could be negated by the Ash Blossom. It's much better to use a card like Veiler or Impermanence, but Ash could still be good here. Now the Kitcow, since the card itself is not negated, we now have the Promethean and the Rage. It could still activate secondary effect of returning itself from the field to the grave to reborn a Tearlament as we summon a Tearlament Kashtira to mill 8. 8 milled cards here. Mill 3. We have the Revolution Synchron in the grave. Milling the Rhino Heart, milling the Shadow Beast. We're going to randomly draw a card as the Rhino reborns from the graveyard, sending Sulik to then trigger to search for another Tearlament card. We're now using the Mudora to return the opposing Promethean Princess. Thus, we only have the Salamangreat Rage as our only disruption left. Sulik trigger, grabbing a Sharon, which we have not activated yet. We're now using the Rage. This is going to pop all 4 cards on the field before we rank 4 Xyz? I think so. 1, 2, 3, 4. Full wipeage, 0 disruption left. Scream trigger, add a meta noise from the deck to our hand. Sharon is going to be discarding a Sharon. Mill 3, trigger Sharon as our final fusion trigger. Returning 3 to come forth and summon Kaleido Heart. On summon, spin a card in the field back into the deck. Goodbye to the opposing Raging Phoenix. Big enough to swing over by battle. And goodbye to the Sunlight Wolf, which will trigger the Raging Phoenix to reborn itself in the grave back onto the field and gaining the attack of the monster that was destroyed. Now, what do we have here? With the meta noise, we could flip a monster face down to then trigger the Kaleido Heart to spin another card in the field back into the deck and trigger into a fusion summon, which could turn into disruption. So we have 1, 2, 3 disruption here is our main play. Let's go. To battle we go. The Kaleido Heart has thus been killed, and all we have left is the meta noise for double disruption. We're going to spin down the buffer low, sending from the deck a Havness, trigger the Havness to then fusion summon into a Rukalos. That is our 1 card disruption left. They're ending the turn. That's it. No other play. The effect to negate a special summon is what we have on our Rukalos. We're going to discard a Fairy Tale Snow to come forth and special summon a Sharon. We're going to trigger the Crime to return a banished tier limit back to our hand. Normal summoning the Rhino unsummon, sending from the deck. A Havnis trigger, return from the graveyard back into the deck to now make Kit Kalos. Kit Cal unsummon, Kid search, or send a tier limit card. We're going to grab the Scream. Scream is here. We're going to seize this up into a Time Thief Redoer. Triggering the Scream to reduce the opposing field by 500, also milling 3. Kit Cal is going to be reborning the Kaleido Heart from the grave, on summon, spin the Raging Phoenix back in the deck, triggering the Sharon to fusion summon. And just like that, all 3 tier limit fusions on the field, Kaleido, Rukalos, and Kit Cal, into a surrender. Damn. Mordred has won the duel. Lilion summon, activating the search for the stray Purrely Street. We're now going to be activating the My Friend Purrely. Reveal 3 cards from your deck, randomly adding one of them to our hand. Reveal 3 of the same, then you add it. Perfect. Now, if the stray Purrely Street, our newly special summon monsters will be untargetable, but we have no cards to target with. We are going to be activating Maxi in response to the Sleepy Memory. We're going to pass on the optional effect of summoning a monster from the deck due to the Maxi. And instead, we're going to go straight into the Purrely Nor. Now, there is a situation where it's not correct to Maxi early against a Purrely deck. You could save the Maxi for a Chain Link block, and this is what you'd be blocking. They activate a quick play spell in response to a Purrely Nor being on the field, then you activate the Maxi to block off that connection, and they don't get to set a card from the deck, which would then enable them to summon their main boss monster. It could be risky, though, because what if they have another quick play spell? This is what you'd block, and with anything. Chain Link block. If Magna had a dark monster to banish, that would have been a good way to block. And now they got that Purrely Leap. And now you may just lose the whole duel. Lost my voice. We're going to be drawing 4 cards here. Purrely Nor with double Sleepy Memory, double draw into a double draw here. Even though we have the Harpy Feather Duster, the damage is already done. The Purrely Nor, after drawing 4 cards, has the 5 materials, so it's completely unaffected from activated effects. Now, this is where we use something like the Mirror Jade, which is a lingering effect, which could affect the Purrely Nor to wipe it out during the end phase. Wipe it out, goodbye to the back row, just like that. But we have to remember, the Happy Memory protected the My Friend Purrely. We're now going to spin back the Branded Lost on its activation. Follow up with the Fusion Deployment, revealing an Albion to come forth and summon a Fallen Alabaster in the deck. We have Alibur on summon activating as the effect Veiler negates. We're going to chain Super Polymerization Mate, discarding our Magna Hut. Now, the Purrely Nor is not going to be able to chain in response to the Super Poly, as we now make a Garura. Now, this will trigger the My Friend Purrely to add 3 cards in the graveyard back to our hand. We're going to add back the Happy Memory, the Sleepy Memory, and those are actually the only 2 cards we're going to add back. Follow-up Branded Fusion, which we held on to our Ash Blossom 4. We didn't waste it on the Alibrate. All that, the Ash Blossom is what stops us. This is why you got to hold Ash for the Branded Fusion, just like that. Now, a lot of Branded players, to get around Ash Blossom instant winning against Branded Fusion, they're playing a card called Triple Tactics Thrust. They thrust the Fusion Duplication from the deck into the back row to then copy the Branded Fusion in the grave. And if they have another Ash Blossom in the hand, you cannot negate the Fusion Duplication copying the effect of Branded Fusion. Even though you're using the effect to send cards in the deck to the grave, your effect is copying, not sending from the deck to the grave, even though it is. Fusion Deployment, we have the Impermanence. Now, Cartesia is anti-Imperm, anti-Veiler. You completely dodge the Impermanence like nothing. It's not even there. We're going to fuse with the Alibur in response. So was it a mistake to use Impermanence? I think so. I think if they have Cartesia, you hold Imperm for your own turn. That's what makes sense to me. You Imperm the Mirror Jade on field during your own turn, which would make the most sense. As you now make our Gangrenol, you don't even wait with the Imperm onto the Branded Fusion monster, because whenever they summon, they're going to chain Cartesia to fuse with it. Now they have the Albion. Albion is untargetable from an Imperm, and we're actually being super toxic here. What the hell are we doing? The Gimmick Puppet Nightmare is in the grave as we're summoning it onto the opposing side of the field, and as soon as it is summoned, the opponent cannot special summon non-Gimmick Puppets for the rest of the turn. I thought we were done playing Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, but it's back. Come forth and summon. You are now floodgated for the turn. Just like that. Now the Lily will be triggering. The Albaz will also be fusing with your Lily. Thank you very much. As we can now make a Mirror Jade off of that. We're actually going to be using the Gimmick Puppet Nightmare because why not? Shokan into Lubellion on summon, discard, fuse into a Mirror Jade fuse with the Lily. Let's go. Oh my Jesus. You can't special summon for the rest of the turn, so what do? What can you actually do? You can't do anything. It's an auto loss. This is on the level of Archfiend Calamitying, just completely shutting down their turn. My friend Purrely, reveal 3, come to me, but this is going to be no good. We can't special summon. We could set pass, Mirror Jade, non-target monster banish. And the problem with this is we could do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. So even if we don't lethal this turn, I will just Gimmick Puppet Nightmare you again. So what are the best ways to stop this from actually happening? Imperm doesn't work. You could Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave is one of the few ways to stop it. Bystials, when they were more popular, made this strategy less prevalent because that was another good way to stop it. DD Crow could also be good. Come forth, Lubellion. Bystials, right? Yep. Earl GB with the raid. Thank you very much. I appreciate it greatly. I hope you had a great stream. Thank you, Earl. Let's go. We have branded, lost triggering. Everything's triggering. Like, I'm already tapped out of this duel because it's over. Let's just speed this up. Win the duel right here, right now. Let's go. Let's take this into game 2. Lame. Yeah, well, it's a problem with something toxic if people on Reddit, for example, could say, well, Bystial counters it, so it's okay. Or Call by the Grave counters it, so it's okay. Do people actually use that argument against Max C? Do they go, oh, you have Ash Blossom, so it's okay. You have Cross Out Designate, so it's okay. I do not think effects like that are okay. Definitely not okay. We got the Stray Purrely Street. Come forth and summon the Lily. Target a Purrely exceeds you control. Special summon 1 level 1 Purrely from your deck, but negates effects. Then special summon from your extra deck a Purrely exceeds the same name, same rank, but different attribute than the targeted monster by using that special summon monster as material. What? I guess this is a way to get Beauty out for a quick monster negate. That's what we're gonna do. So E Purrely Beauty for an additional monster negate on top of the Nor going into the X Purrely Nor. All right, I want to see it. Let's go. Within the draw phase with our turn player priority, we're going to activate the Brandon High Spirits, grabbing a kit after sending the Albaz from the hands of the grave. We're now going to use the Nor effect to draw 6. Draw 1, draw 2, draw 3. Activate on the draw 3 to then draw 4, draw 5, draw 6. We're going to be chaining the Purrely Shirley onto the Nor to summon from the deck to then exceeds into a Beauty. Right? Beauty. Beauty for a monster negate. On top of our other monster negate. We're going for the draw 3. Hold on. As soon as this resolves, draw 3. 3. Draw 4. Draw 5. We're not done. We're not done. Draw 6. There we go. There we go. That's very nice. Adding a Maxi on top of it. We didn't draw on any other hand traps though. We have Albion going in for the draw 1 into the Allure of Darkness. And we're going to keep on drawing because of the Maxi. Beauty with the free monster negate onto the kit mate. Negate. Now we have triple tactics talent, but we can't take control of the unaffected X Purrely Nor. Now the X Purrely Nor unfortunately can't spin our own Utopic Draco Future back into the deck to dodge the triple tactics talent negate. So we are going to come to me, Utopic Draco Future, which is big enough to take out the X Purrely Nor by battle. That's actually annoying. But you may be thinking, just spin it back after they take control. We can't, because if we detach 2 materials, we are now affected by the Utopic Draco Future. We're actually pinned down. What do? Not completely. We will negate the spin. They could then spin again. So we do have the ability to spin 3 times with one of the spins being negated. So 2 spin. Cartesia is here. Fusion Summon into our Gangrunol. All under Maxi, by the way, not drawing into Effect Veiler or any other plays. Serenir being sent to the graveyard, sending a Branded Fusion here. Retribution in the grave, add back the Branded Fusion. This could be our opportunity to activate the Purrely Nor to spin the Branded Fusion back into the deck. That's exactly what we're doing. We're going to target that Branded Fusion to spin it back. Utopic Draco Future will be affecting the Purrely Nor. Now, we have to spin again because the Utopic Draco Future will take control of the Purrely Nor. So we can't hold that spin. We have to spin again. What if we forget to spin? We don't forget. We know. Okay, we know. Spin that Gangrunol back into the extra deck before the Purrely Nor gets taken control of. Very well done. Triple Tactics talent, using the Utopic Draco Future against Purrely, turning it against them. To battle we go, and what are we doing? We're just giving back everything? Oh my gosh. Fallen of Albaz in the end phase, come forth and summon, fusing with the opposing beauty to come forth and make a Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade is here. Purrely Street is triggering because you made my monster leave the field. We're gonna non-target monster banish the Utopic Draco Future before it's given back. Now, the Utopic Draco Future steal on the Purrely Nor is a permanent yoink. So we're not giving that back. We're going to be adding not only multiple cards in the graveyard back to the hand, but also summon a Purrely onto the field to reveal 3, add a card among the 3. We whiffed it, so now we only have 13 cards in our hand instead of 14. Branded in red with the toggle on, activate to add back from the grave the Libitum. Using with our hand and field into a Guardian Chimera, pop 2 cards on the field as the Libitum then reborns the Mirror Jade back onto the field. Let's go. Alt in the end phase, toggle it on. Reborn, we're gonna draw 1. What are we drawing 1 into? Not into a hand trap, unfortunately, but taking out the stray Purrely Street and the My Friend Purrely, which they of course have multiple other copies within the hand, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Newly drawn into a Ghost Bell, as you could barely see it. Now, the Ghost Bell can be used against Fusion Duplication. The Ash Blossom cannot. Even if this copies the Branded Fusion, no Ash, but you can use Bell. So what the hell was that? Just off the top of the deck, we have the perfect negate. Mirror Jade also activatable for the non-target monster banish. We're gonna non-target monster banish the Purrely before it exceeds with a card in the hand. Be gone. And now we're gonna follow up Triple Tactics talent, taking control of an opposing monster. Thank you for the Chimera. As we follow up with the Purrely Delicious Memory, making the Mirror Jade indestructible by battle. Can't be destroyed now. So what are we doing? Rinbrum reborn the Albaz from our graveyard. Ghost Bell being used on Rinbrum and not the Fusion Duplication. We're going to chain Branded in High Spirits to that Ghost Bell, which we're going to Ash Blossom negate. You're not going to be getting an Albaz monster from your deck to your hand, which could be a Mercurier, right? Mercurier would have been the play potentially to do here. We are going to then, with the Lily, make a Plump. Plump could now stop the duplication. So we're very scared to use duplication now because when we target the Branded Fusion, we're going to suck it up. But we're preempting the activation of the Plump, thus the duplication is not going to be in trouble. We're going to be chaining to the Purrely Happy to equip the Plump. We could also non-target banish if we want to. We chose to not do so. Interesting. We're going to suck up the Mirror Jade instead. Open field. We're going to suck up the duplication. Is there no Branded Fusion to even use it on? It got returned back on the deck by the Purrely Nor. So that whole time with the Fusion Duplication, it was a what-if scenario if they actually had Branded Fusion, which was spun back a while. Thus, we're further showconning into the Purrely Happiness. On the attack, burn for 1,500 damage, 52 afterward, 3,200 for game. Lethal damage, Purrely knocking out Branded Despia. Very nice. Very nicely done. Yeah. All right. Yep. Duplication good, but you need that Branded Fusion. It got spun back, unfortunately. We didn't have another way to get a, let's say, a Gangrunol to then send the Serenir, to then have Serenir send the Branded Fusion from the deck to the grave. All right. Emergency. Summon from the deck Preventer just to get it into the grave to reborn it with our rescue. That was a really weak play. The deck is all about turbulence, but we had no other rescue ace to send to the grave, thus that's the best we could do. We are going to Purrely on summon, reveal the top 3 cards of our deck, add a Purrely card among those 3. Come to me, Purrely Pretty Memory. Activate that Pretty Memory, chain the Maxi. Now, you could cut off the Maxi by chaining another Purrely Quick Play to then special summon around the Maxi, and then do not discard a special summon through this Pretty Memory. Are we doing that? Looks like we're not. We are going to just not discard. Okay, I won't discard. I'm just going to Xyz with the Pretty Memory from the card in our hand with the Lily Purrely on the field. Now, the Happiness will be attacking and will be searching for a card. Yup, very well done. Attack for 2k, trigger in the end of the damage step to grab a Pretty Memory. Now, this is where we may want to chain link block the Pretty Memory from equipping onto the Happiness. Otherwise, it's going to non-target, spin a back row card back to the hand. Are we okay with that? Well, it doesn't have any additional attacks. They're not threatening lethal. Maybe we just don't care. It's not that big of a deal. Within main phase 1, you should care. Within having multiple attacks, you should care. So we searched Pretty to suck up Pretty to then use Pretty to suck up the back row card, which was the Emergency. Emergency, summon for the deck, a Lifter to then send it to the grave, just to be used with our rescue next turn. My friend Purrely, reveal 3, come to me, guaranteed stray Purrely Street. And just like that, we have X Purrely Nor play. By sucking up the Sleepy Memory, we have the ability to draw 2 and have an unaffected from activated effects with the X Purrely Nor. Chain the Maxi, I don't think it's worth it to use Ash Blossom off of a draw 1. We're going to rescue from the graveyard our Air Lifter, come forth. Now, this could be smart to do before the X Purrely Nor is out on the field, because otherwise you activate Rescue, we could chain spin the Lifter back in the deck, and then you wouldn't get the trigger effect like you are right now. So come forth, let's go. Shokan into the X Purrely Nor. Air Lifter is triggering, which we are not going to even use the Ash Blossom on. We're now triggering our X Purrely Nor to draw an additional card here. We have the Rescue Ace HQ, depending on having 4 Rescue Ace cards in the grave and or banished in order to use it to draw 1 by returning them back in the deck. Emergency and the Turbulence has been negated. We have 3 spins on the absolutely unaffected from activated effects X Purrely Nor. We're going to chain spin the Rescue Ace HQ back on the deck, stopping it from returning cards and drawing 1. Thus, Purrely has this locked down. It's an easy win. The X Purrely Nor is going to be spun back into the extra deck during the end phase of our turn, so we do have to be careful about that. My friend Purrely revealed Triple Lily, making it a guaranteed add. On summon, add another Purrely Street. We're going to X Purrely Nor, spin back an opposing rescue back into the deck. Interesting. We just wanted to get the Delicious Memory into the graveyard to make a plump. That's why we did that. We're now going to plump, suck up even more cards. And Supreme King's like, I don't really care what you're doing, I'm out. Very well done. Supreme King surrendering. Air Lifter, come forth and Shokan with the Fire Engine in the TC to the G. You can actually chain link block Ash. Not that that's even that good of a play, but in Master Duel, you cannot chain link block with a trigger effect in the hand. Why is Apollo very important here, more so than any other moment? Because of Purrely Street. You lose to Purrely if you don't make Apollo against Purrely, because otherwise, all of your targeting effects, Preventer can't be used, Extinguish can't be used, Contain can't be used, Promethean Princess can't be used. It's all about the Apollo USA. But we have Triple Tactics talent to take control of it, so Earl, I think, could still probably just win this duel. Let's go. Straight Purrely Street is here. The newly special summon monster, Lily, is untargetable, but non-target Apollo USA, negate. But we have the second effect that won't be negated if we take control of the Apollo. Yoink the Apollo. Now we use the Apollo against them, which could negate Nibiru and a Preventer. We're going to Lily Shokan into a Plump. Plump is here. whatever Purrely we summon just can't be targeted. So this is a very scary situation. We're going to suck up the opposing cards. To battle we go. Looks like we're setting up a potential Zeus play. We're going to emergency dodge the Plump trying to kill itself as the Apollo USA now negates the Airlifter. All right, let's get to it. Plump is swinging into the Airlifter, so we can main phase 2 Zeus the field. Now we're going to rescue from the graveyard the Preventer before the Zeus gets wiping. Zeus, wipe it. We're going to activate Extinguish onto the Zeus, which doesn't really do anything. Now, Preventer will be triggered to reborn the Banish Airlifter back onto the field, which we could use the Ash to negate the effect of searching. Do we do so? Did we already activate the Airlifter? Why didn't we activate Airlifter? What the heck? We're going to emergency set a card in the grave back onto the field here, as we now have the original Sinful to get negated by the Ash. Negate. Come forth. Nothing. Now, the Contain is only activatable if we have a Rescue Ace on the field, which we could randomly draw into. Return back, randomly drawing into an Ash. Not so good. If they top deck a My Friend Purrely, we can negate it though. Happy Memory's no good. We need another card to discard in order to activate it with relevance, and the Ash will be able to negate. We have even more negates, mate. On top of that, we have a Gamma. Off the top of the deck, we have our Purrely. Do we negate and destroy? Now we can negate, but it won't be destroyed if we chain the Happy, but if we chain the Happy, it's just not that good of a play. What do? We just let it die. It dies, Gamma's been used up, that's fine. 1 for 1, pass, back to you. Let's go. Not looking good for Earl. Hydrant off the top of the deck, and I think Earl should probably just surrender from here. We're going to Preventer, Banish, come forth, and summon. If we get the Preventer into the graveyard, we reborn the Banish Turbulence, as we're doing so right now. Making a Dark to steal a Dark monster. Reborn the Turbulence, come forth. Yep, there you go. Game 3. And then you have to convince new players that it's worth it to overcome themselves being the problem. Not everyone has the time of day and within the week to endlessly play just one game. If you want to master non-top tier decks, do you even have time to play other games? Is it worth it? Do you actually gain that fulfillment of playing a non-top tier deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Instead of playing other games? I think of Snake Eye players as people that probably play Fortnite for fun on the side. And if you don't play Snake Eye, you don't have time to do that. Come forth, come to me, Pretty Memory, Lily, equipped from the graveyard, Shokan into E, Purrely, Nor. Nor's here. Nor is top tier. We're going to be drawing during the standby phase. We're going to be triggering the Fire Engine off of a special summon a monster from the deck. We now have our Airlifter. And this is where you would potentially want to be chain link blocking the Nor, which we didn't have the ability to do so. We're going to chain the Airlifter to special summon a Preventer. And now we have Disruption on turn 0. Turn 0 Disruption with the Preventer to get flipping face down. If we flip down that E Purrely Nor, we can't use the Leap to Exceed over it into the X Purrely Nor. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the straight Purrely Street to make ourselves untargetable from that Preventer. Very annoying, very annoying. The Leap is screwed. Preventer get Prevented, flipping down the Dullahan actually, so we could still Preventer flip down within the draw phase before they draw, but they could chain in response to being flipped face down to just use the Purrely Leap. Now we're using the additional effect of the E Purrely Nor again to, we could have set another Purrely Leap from the deck if we had. So how many draws we have here? We have just one. So this is within the window where we could use Preventer, but we need another Rescue Ace in the field, which we do not have. Emergency within the draw phase, chain the Max C, so they're going to be drawing anyway. Chaining the Purrely Leap, we are not going to even bother with the Sleepy Memory drawing 1 into actually draw 2. So now we're just drawing 1. Come forth and some. Was it correct to Purrely Leap early? What were we afraid of? Well, for good reason actually. You just don't use Preventer. If you don't use Preventer, you pin down the Purrely Leap from being used, and they just can't use it. As soon as you wait for them to use it, you chain Preventer, flip their monster face down. They can't exceed the face down monster, and thus you're good. So we did have to leap early. This is very well done. Hydrant activates, which is not a trigger effect, grabbing a Preventer here. Impulse is interesting. Impulse is activating, and successfully doing so. This is not a trigger effect. We allowed them to activate, and now we're screwed. This is activating to affect the unaffected Nor by affecting the player instead. It tells the player, so the player gets affected, of not being able to activate their X Purrely Nor, which is unaffected from activated effects, but it's not the one being affected here. So we have to use all our spins right here, right now, and the impulse is going to chain to being spun by summoning a monster from the deck. So very well done, Supreme King. Yep, we out of here. We outie. And I do want to emphasize, this effect was not a trigger effect. It wasn't summon, then chain activate. So we could have used the Nor before it even activated. During your main phase, spell speed 1, open game state, activate, and then the Nor cannot activate after it resolves. So we're spinning like crazy. We have to spin everything. Everything's got to go. Preventer spin down. The Nor can't spin the Hydrant. We're dumping all of our materials. The X Purrely Nor going out of business sale is here. Everything's got to go. Detaching it all. Goodbye to the Preventer as we resummon Preventer from the deck. Hey, we got a Ghost Mourner. That's pretty cool. We could Ghost Mourner onto a newly special summon Turbulence, but by using the Mourner early, which you have to do, allows us to simply just make a Promethean Princess to reborn it. Come forth in Shokan into Dark. It is really unfortunate that we popped off with Impulse, but we're under Max C. So, do we lose anyway? Probably. Dullahan Steel, come forth, Shokan into Promethean. This could be a good Ghost Mourner. On summon, negate, that's exactly what we're doing. Do not, and when it leaves the field, we're now going to burn for how much attack she has. Come forth, Salamangreat Raging Phoenix. We're going to Shokan this up into World Sea Dragon Zealantis. We do have lethal damage, but the effect Veiler will negate the lethal damage play. I do not think so. Negate. Did we just draw the Veiler? Had we not drawn Veiler, we lost. We actually lost. Banish the field, resummon the field, trigger Promethean, trigger the Raging Phoenix, come forth and summon at 5,600 attack, plus 2,500 attack, plus the Promethean Princess ready to attack, attack for game if it weren't for the newly drawn Veiler off the top of that maxi draw. Wow. All right, SP Little Knight, come forth and summon. We are going to be banishing. Why did we love tap the X Purrely Nor to just flip it up? What the heck was that? Maxi better than the player. Yeah, well, that just is unfortunate. Supreme King was going for that game. We're going to chain Little Knight banish itself plus the Nor. That will not be triggering the straight Purrely Street because it was not resolved by the time the SP Little Knight activated. With your one card in your hand, back in the deck, get out of here. Come forth, Lily, add from the deck, my friend Purrely. We're going to leap 3 cards, up to 3 in the graveyard, back into the deck. Double Purrely, which is semi-limited, by the way. We're going to Exceed the graveyard into an E Purrely Happiness. If we chain the E Purrely Happiness to a quick play spell, it could spin the back row card back to the hand. We're not going to even bother activating it. If we were to summon a Preventer, send Preventer, there was nothing banished that we could even summon. We have 4,000 damage on the field. Come forth, Reborn from the grave, 5k. We're now at 6k damage. We need more. More damage, come on. Get equipping, get Baboostin, come forth and summon another Purrely as we then go into a Beauty. 7,600 damage. Finally, we have enough for game. Attack, attack, attack. Lethal damage. We can say Max C stole the game. Yeah, Max C stole that. 100%. That was stolen. But, you know, blame the game, not the player. Good job, Earl GB. Let's keep on going. We have Airlifter, airlift off into grabbing our emergency. We have no hand traps whatsoever. Bruh, we couldn't even set contain. Whoops. Well, we played around Super Poly, actually. That's pretty good. And if we just get one rescue ace on the field, they're still not going to be able to Super Poly us. Rescue it up, rescue our Hydrants, as we then alert an Impulse from the deck to our hand. The Impulse could special summon a Preventer from the deck. That is a pretty good play here. We're going to send the Sea Mare Mill 3 off the top of the deck, no trigger effects. We're going to Barload Savage Dragon. Negating the I'm Seti is incredible. If you have Ash, this is when you Ash. If you're Ashing a King Sark, you're going to be behind. That's not going to be as good. Huge disruption. They lose 2 cards and they have nothing. The Triva Karma is going to be activating to search our deck for the Tearlament field spell. And the Extinguish is pretty good against Tearlaments. You pop the Tear, that Tear can't activate in the grave, and then if another Sharon were to be milled from the deck, it still can't be activated. We're going to, in response to the Rhino Heart, chain the Impulse to special summon for the deck of Preventer, as the Rhino sends to the deck a Havnis. Havnis activates, and now that you have 2 fire monsters on the field, we're gonna make it so you can't even use Extinguish. Extinguish is no more. And the emergency is not gonna help us unless we have a banished Rescue Ace, which we do. So we can emergency Preventer, send Preventer, special summon Airlifter, then we could use our Extinguish. Do we do so? Right? Ooh, we're popping the board load Savage Dragon. The Preventer itself, we don't even have to emergency. That Preventer being sent to the grave is going to trigger to summon the Airlifter. Then we could use Extinguish onto the Kick Cow. We probably want to use it before the Kick Cow activates on the Resolution. Now, yes, or wait. Emergency summon, we could wait on the resolution of these effects before we activate the Extinguish. Summon Hydrant. You need the Hydrant, correction. So if you Extinguish early, that'd be a bad idea. You need the Hydrant to gain the additional ability of the Kick Cow not being able to activate in the grave. So this is in fact when we Extinguish once we have Hydrant. Now cannot activate, no mill, can't summon a Tear from the hand or grave. We're gonna banish from the grave, come forth and summon. Tearlament Cash Tear, mill 3 cards off the top of the deck. Trigger the Scream, grab a Meta Noise, which will be able to flip a monster face down, plus trigger a fusion. 4K damage with the Garura. Lethal damage out of freaking nowhere because Garura does double damage for some reason. Does Konami throw darts at the wall when creating cards? It's weird. Well, how do they decide out of nowhere? Is there a lore reason why Garura would deal double battle damage? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 disruption. 6 disrupt we have to play through. We're going to special summon our Fenrir, Extinguish the Fenrir, 5 more disruption. Rhino Heart is summoning. We're going to rescue. Ooh, we're going to steal it. So what happens here is it's not going to trigger until the resolution of what you send activates, and then that resolves into, let's say, a Kick Kalos. Then only the Fenrir will activate in response to the summon of the Kick Kalos. So this is, well, we could trigger in response to the mill. Now we could Fenrir, but we chose to not do so. Activating Polymerization, negate. So we're now down to 5 disruption. We were at 5, then we gained a Fenrir, then we used the Boral Load, so we're back to 5. Ash Blossom negate the Sharon. Now down to 4 disruption. 4. We have Preventer, we have Contain, we have the Baron DeFlor, we have Fenrir. We're going to be fusing with the field here into Double-Headed Garura. Alert. Reborn, I should say add back Preventer to then use the emergency to send Preventer from the hand to the grave as we summon the Hydrant. Trigger Preventer to reborn a banished card if we have one. We're now down to 3 disruption here, since we lost the ability to Preventer flip face down. Further showconning this up into an SP Little Knight against Contain, against Fenrir, against Baron DeFlor here. Garura, sent to the grave, activate to draw. Baron DeFlor, negate the Little Knight. Is Garura a mandatory draw, or could we have Chainlink blocked? It is optional. So if you put the Little Knight on Chainlink 1, Garura on Chainlink 2, the Baron DeFlor would not be able to negate the Little Knight, which even if it leaves the field right now, it's still going to be negated. We're going to be chain banishing itself, plus the Fenrir, we're going to contain it. Contain, negate its full effect. None for you. And then after all of that, we still have the Fenrir activatable to banish a face-up card face down. But we don't need it. Very well done. I really like the idea of stealing a Fenrir. I love it so much in Memento. They summon a Fenrir, then take control of it with your mace. And I'm not excited for Konami making side deck cards because there's no side deck in Master Duel. So all this hype around Mulchummy, and it's going to do nothing in Master Duel, which is quite unfortunate. But then the question is, do we need more staple-like cards? Do we want more cards like Imperm, Ash, Called By, Auto includes in the deck? Do we want decks to be even further homogenized, being so similar to each other, where everything is 20 cards the same? Use of the field, flip down and fuse, negate a special summon, banish in response to an activated effect. We have about 5 disruption. Let's go. Have I tried Wuthering Waves yet? I have, and we're going to be playing it later in today's stream. And I think if I gift 2 subs to myself, I gain something. Gia's going to gift 2 subs to me through her to also get some in-game rewards. She told me it's worth it. I don't know if it's worth it. Do any of you know if it's worth it? That's what we'll be doing. Keldo, returning cards in the graveyard back into the deck. Emergency, come forth and summon nothing as the Root Kalos negates. Negate. You have to think sometimes, should you really care about a game being optimally competitive? Does randomness and ways of making the game less competitive make the game more fun? Can Maxi in many ways be more fun for you, where your opponent's no longer cooking for 10 to 15 minutes? But again, that's overbalancing an issue that with another issue. That's something that, you know, I see turn 1s where you have no hand traps as an unskippable cutscene. And Wuthering Waves had a lot of controversy where you can't skip the cutscenes, and people were pissed. And they're like, okay, we'll let you skip the cutscenes. And that in a way is, Maxi is skip the opponent's cutscene, but then they do it against you also. All right, with the Dragostapelia, we have negate a monster on the field, we have Chain Banish, we have Meta Noise, which is not activatable. Impulse is gonna chain dodge your Dragostapelia to summon a body from the deck. Let's go. Come forth. Yeah, we have a YouTube short of a guy at Worlds just slams the desk after getting Max Seed. It's hilarious. And it was after he Max Seed the opponent also. So I can Max See you, but you can't Max See me. Curry Kara, Divine Incarnate, because you activate your monster, we're going to tribute over it, come forth in special summon, set up the contain, extinguish. We're going to have triple disruption here. We're going to steal a monster from the opponent's graveyard, which could be a Little Knight or Dragostapelia. We're going to take that Dragostapelia. Now we have 4 disruptions, 5 with the Ash Blossom. So much oh my gosh, dead hand. Meta Noise can't be used, Scream can't be used, nothing can be used. We have no tier to allow the trap to be used or to trigger the Tier Element Scream. And just like that, tier bricking it up, losing to Rescue Ace. Right cards come to me. Arrival, Shokan into Lightheart. And again, I'm against Max C. I don't like Max C, but I understand, I believe the reasons why Konami has it in the game and has no future plans of doing something about it. When you tell Konami, a player survey, Master Duel will be more competitive if Max C were to be banned. And Konami's response is, yes, I agree with you. Do you have anything else you'd like to say? That's it. Not, okay, we'll ban it. Sure, we agree, more competitive. That doesn't mean anything to them. Samsara, Shokan into Lightheart. Lightheart activate, come to me, nothing may. Ash Blossom negate, as we have no field spell already in our hand. Arrival, multiple copies, more than 1 are activatable to Reborn from the Grave. We're going to be using our Rhymeheart to get popping on the ball. You will not pop the ball, as we're going to pop you instead. What else we have? We have the right card to Reborn behind the Lightheart. We could use Arrival to Reborn the Vsauce and Samsara. And holy moly, Maxi ruining this duel. I think this is not cool. This is a situation where we're not skipping the opponent's cutscene. We just put them in a desperate spot where they have to one-turn kill us or they lose. And then this is another scenario where we have to make every deck have the capability of having strong one-turn kills so that they could play through Max C to make it more balanced. And that's why a lot of decks have very powerful turn 2s. Lightheart, come to me. Planet Field Spell. Baron to floor, pop our ball. 1 pop equal 2 balls. We're gonna summon a ball from the deck, a ball from the grave. One will be level 4 if we want it to be. Come forth. Now, have we Ash Blossomed yet? We have already ashed, and we have nothing else activatable. The Imperm is no good because we're blocking it with our Field Spell and our Baron to floor, a very nice Royal Baron to floor. I mean, we're gonna win through Max C. We're gonna win. I said Max C ruined the duel, but it actually made the duel more hyped in a way. I think so. It brought it up a notch, and Stardust is gonna win this unless they draw into a Nibiru. And then even a Nibiru is going to be stopped by the Baron to floor. And that's why we're then going to need a Veiler and a Nibiru. So where is it? It's nowhere in sight. He keeps on cooking. He keeps on summoning. He keeps on banishing. Open field, 11,000 damage through the Max C. And just like that, Stardust wins the game. Damn. Very well done. Good job, Stardust. Rhymeheart is here. Ash Blossom negates. Very well done. Now the Scareclaw Kashtira, we're going to be come forth and summoning by banishing a Scareclaw card. Goodbye to our rival as we further link this up into Lightheart. This is a Jabate negate. Imperm or Veiler would be a bait because we can only activate 1 field spell anyway. Activate the field, grab our Vsauce Starfrost, which will pop the Lightheart, and then the Lightheart will be able to reborn from the grave. And I do feel like some deck types are possibly created with the mindset of Max C existing. Something like Unchained was too good in the TCG. They had to limit it to 1 without something like Max C keeping it in check in Master Duel and OCG. Come forth, Little Knight. Little Knight is here alongside the Baron to floor, which will reset its once per while face up negate. So we have negate, banish, ash, triple disruption. Let's go. All right, we're gonna grab a Meek, Vsauce, Samsara alongside the Meek. I do wish Konami could figure out a different way to help balance overly special summoning without Max C being that answer. Because TCG's answer to too much special summoning is the ban list, and OCG's answer is Max C. And I would like something that doesn't require the ban list or Max C, and Chummy was almost that answer. Nemesis Flag is going to be returning a banished card back in the deck to come forth and special summon, and then on summon, it would be able to search a Nemesis monster from the deck, but all of that is now negated, setting up the Scareclaw field spell, searching for our Vsauce Starfrost, popping our Lightheart to come forth and summon, reborn the Lightheart from the graveyard. Baron to floor has already been used up, so it is Stardust play to go all the way. This is it. On summon, searching for a second copy of the Scareclaw field spell, Shokan into Cross Sheet. And TCG's answer is it's Nibiru and the ban list at the same time. It's Nibiru, sometimes Droll, and the ban list is what they do to control too much special summoning. So that's why I'm thinking some kind of like mini Nibiru might be a cool answer. I feel like they have some really smart guy at Konami locked in a closet, and every once in a while, they pull them out to create a meta-defining, really well-balanced card like Nibiru, and then they toss them back in the closet to not be seen for years later. And just like that, Stardust wins it. Because I mean, does anyone think that Nibiru is not designed correctly? It's super hype, it's really well done, it's just like... He thought about, why not 4 summons? Why not 6 summons? Like 5 was perfect. Tribute the whole freaking field. Only face-ups. Oh my gosh. It's just every part of Nibiru, I think, is incredibly well designed. Huh? The heck was that? Well, if you are a Duel Links player excited for Infernoble coming to Duel Links, expect a turn 1 brick. Cross out designate, negating a wanted seeker, mate. Negates. And because of Nibiru being prevalent in the TCG, I think that's the #1 reason why Crossout Designate is playable at 3. You can't finger Nibiru. There's no other good out to Nibiru besides Crossout Designate. There's no other way to negate it. Triple Tactics Talent, also another card. Probably the same person who created Nibiru probably created Triple Tactics Talent. Incredibly well made. even Triple Tactics Thrust, they probably brought that dude back to also make that card, because it's not a card that everyone's using and abusing. It's a very well-made smart card, I believe. Turbulence, banish from the grave, come forth and summon Turbulence. Turbulence setting up into the back row, 4 cards from the deck, giving us 3 additional disruptions. But more importantly, we couldn't go for game. We still have the normal summon of the Effect Veiler. We're going to Hida, stealing the opposing Ash Blossom. To battle we go. Let's go. Not enough, but triple disruption. We're also going to be setting up the SP Little Knight. Little Knight on summon, banishing the called by off the field. And with that, we have Quadra, 5 disruption actually. Veiler, Little Knight, plus 3 cards that we could use, which will be Prevent or Contain and Extinguish. Activating the Joy Use. Now, what the heck are we doing here? Activating it onto their monster? Well, the Joy Use states that you can target a Fire Warrior in the graveyard, add it to your hand. Otherwise, if this card's sent to the graveyard because the equipped monster is sent to the grave, it was never equipped, you could special summon a Fire Warrior from your hand. So that kind of screwed us. We're going to be activating the Gear Freed to banish the equipped to come forth and special summon. To battle we go. We have a red reboot. Do we use it? Of course we do. Red reboot. Set the Extinguish. No traps for the rest of the turn. Set an Imperm from the deck though, right? Wait, really? You don't have an Imperm to set? Then they could set one other trap directly from their deck. Huh? We're going to equip the Untargetable Hydrant on the attack into the Turbulence as we then alert the Turbulence back into our hand. What's really cool about this is it's essentially non-target removal, but the monster doesn't leave the field, so it doesn't trigger something like Turbulence after a card leaves the field to get popping. Harpy Feather Duster, wiping up that Hydrant, getting it back into our grave so that we can now banish it for our Turbulence. Come forth and banish. Turbulence is here. Extinguish, get extinguishing. Extinguishing the Phoenix Gear Freed off the field. Lethal with the Little Knight. We have Wanted Seeker searching our deck for Diablo Star. Finger the Maxi, come forth and special summon Diablo Star. Gear Freed, negate. We're gonna send an equip card in response to a monster effect. Negate. Damn, 1-1. We're gonna shotgun that Maxi, chain the emergency to that Maxi to special summon before that Maxi resolves. You now have Turbulence. Send the Hydrant from the hand here, and now let's go. Turbulence activates, setting up 4 cards into our back row. I think what's really interesting about Yu-Gi-Oh! More so than any other card game, I don't think Magic the Gathering has a community this strong around certain deck types like Yu-Gi-Oh! Does. Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Does not rotate out decks, you have longtime fans of things like Spiral, where they could forever play the same deck for years and just all come around and continually play that same deck forever, and then hopefully some new cards come out to change things up. The Madolche community, how excited do you think they are about the new Madolche cards coming out? I whipped out the new Madolche cards on the TCG simulator to have fun with that. That was good. And then, yeah, I don't think there really is a Ritual Beast community that's kind of been died off. There actually is a small subset of a lot of people that are really obsessed with Winda, specifically her, and they are really happy. I was watching a lot of their YouTube videos for combo guides. They all came out of the woodwork to talk about how much they love the new Ritual Beast cards. So it's something really special about dedicating years and time and effort into one deck and being able to keep on enjoying that one deck. Enjoying Yu-Gi-Oh! Really isn't Yu-Gi-Oh! Itself. Just every deck itself is pretty much its own version of enjoying Yu-Gi-Oh! And I really think other card games just don't have that. Engine get triggering. So one of the big answers to any of you who are not enjoying Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, are you playing the right deck? Maybe you have to pick a different deck for you to enjoy. You have to pick the correct play style for you. Anima is here. Anima gets sucking. Fire Engine, come to me. Further link this up into SP Little Knight. Little Knight on summon, get banished, and we're going to contain the Little Knight. Little Knight will dodge the contain. We could then effect Veiler. No, we're going to allow it go through. Okay, we're going to dodge. We're going to jump off, dodge, and banish. Let's go. Be gone, contain. Now, even though the card is banished, if banished face up, we could still interact with it with our field spell to return it back in the deck. We're going to Original Sinful, send to come forth and summon our Fire Flint Lady. Lady's going to be sent to the grave to come forth and summon our Ogier as it activates to summon the Ogier. We have the Infernoble Oliver triggering to, not triggering, but activating to equip. We are going to use Rescue to steal it because the museum could special summon an equipped monster from our back row. So we're now going to take out the Oliver just to get it back into our grave. It just like that, it does look like, in fact, Maxi has ruined this duel. But didn't we maxi each other? Yeah, we kind of maxied each other. Hydrant gets searching for the Turbulence. Turbulence get banishing, banishing 2. And this, unfortunately, is the end for you. Hackbee, thank you for playing. But Infernoble Knights are out. I want to show you it on the topic of people enjoying differing playstyles. Sometimes there are some real degenerate players out there that are into some really weird things. And I found one of these mad lads on the ladder, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not even mad. I'm happy that you have a place to exist on the internet, because what else would you do with your life? Pot of Prosperity, we digging deep. 6 cards, we're not dropping the maxi in response to it. We have Dinomorphia, very cool. And you see what Konami has to do to make a deck like Dinomorphia good. They generally have to attach a floodgate to the boss monster, but I still think the deck's pretty cool. Wannabe is a very interesting card here. The Wannabe has a paragraph they gotta read. Excavate cards on the top of your deck equal to the number of cards in your opponent's unused spell and trap card zones, and then you could set one of the excavated traps to your field, all right? And that's completely negated. So pretty much a pot of pee, in a way, search for another card for a trap that you want to set from the deck. Let's get to it. Ash Blossom, it keeps this deck in check big time, but we have no Ash. We're going to use the Dinomorphia Frenzy, only activatable within the main phase. Paying half of our life points, we're going to be fingering that Maxi negate. Now, we have to be very careful around the Triple Tactics talent. If we activate any monster effect, we're playing right into it to take control of our monster. This is it. Get ready. Branzi sending from the deck. Therizia. Oh no, we didn't go straight into the boss monster. Thus, we're going to activate a monster effect. Thus, we are susceptible to the Triple Tactics talent. Kentragina, burn for 2k, banish from the grave. Impulse chain to the Kentragina to come forth and summon from the deck. We got our Hydrants as we send for the deck, and the extra deck to now make the Rex term. Now, Rex term is quite interesting. It does not negate. It says that the opponent cannot activate monster effects that have attack greater than or equal to your life points. And if they are less than your life points, you could lower your life points to change their attack to become your life points. And you can't use that in response to them already activating. It has to be before they activate. So if they have a trigger effect on summon from the hand that is less than your life points, there's no way to stop it. And we're going to do Triple Tactics talent. Yoink, taking that Rex term. Now we're going to go into another Rex term. The problem is Rex term does not have protection from battle. So if you have a way to just swing into it with the Rex term you just stole, that's going to be the way to out it. But we do have a trap trick to set any trap from the deck, which is going to trick the opponent, and maybe we'll be setting, I don't know, what's going to be a good card to protect our Rex term from. Hydrant at 0, so it is activatable here. Preventer, get Preventin. Also, another thing that's a problem with the Rex term is it's only monsters on the field. So Preventer sent to the graveyard, or a Druiswarm is a good way to deal with it. Anything in the grave will be good. Trap Trick, the Fairy Flames. The Fiery Flames, right? Fiery Flames? Ferret Flames it is. Yes. If the combined attack of all face-up monsters your opponent controls is higher than your life points, which it is besides the Hydrant, you could non-target shuffle everything back into the deck. That's what I'm talking about. We are flaming on. Ferret Flames. Shuffle it all back. Link Karibo over the Hydrant. We now cannot activate anything. At 1,000 life, we are going in. Dinomorphia alert. We are going to be changing the Karibo to 500 so that we can attack over it before it activates to reduce our Rex turn to 0. And the alert's going to be able to reborn 2 monsters from the grave. So because the Hydrant's not a trigger effect, before it activates, you change its attack to 250. And correction, I said it doesn't really have a way around battle. It actually does by just changing the opponent's attack to your life points, which generally is going to be an out to battle anyway. So correction on that nonsense I said earlier. Shokan into the Hida. Hida's going to be able to reborn a monster from their grave, prevents her activating to summon a banished Hydrant onto the field, which is now activatable because it is less than 250, but we're ending our turn. There's not much we could do. Continually paying half our life, reborning up to 2 monsters from our grave. Let's go. Is anyone genuinely upset by a deck doing well due to having a Floodgate boss monster, or Yu-Gi-Oh's just in the state where that's pretty much the only way where we could have a non-combo deck do well like this? Get burning, setting up into the back row. Dinomorphia intact, a relatively new Dinomorphia card with the ability to negate any monster effect. Kentra Gina at 39, 68 attack, wiping out the Hida, triggering to add from the deck aid monster. And goodbye to that Hydrant at 32 life points. You gotta be 0 attack to even be activatable. We have 5 cards we are revealing during the end phase to set any trap among those 5 cards into our back row. We have the Frenzy plus the Intact. There's no way we're losing this, and now we're gonna be a top tier deck. Banish in the grave, come forth and summon nothing as the Dinomorphia Intact negates. While you control Dinomorphia, pay half your life points, negate the activation, and destroy that monster. Very well done. Prevent or triggering to reborn a Hydrant. Kentra Gina is now going to be fusion summoning. Wait, what the heck was that? No, Kentra Gina is not fusion summoning. It's copying the effect of the Dinomorphia Brute to pop a card we control and the opponent taking out that Hydrant. We are now going to be using the Diplos to be special summoning a level 4 lower Dinomorphia from your graveyard. We're going to chain our Dinomorphia Frenzy to drop our life points down to 4 life points, fusion summoning into a second copy of our Dinomorphia Rex turn. This is what I'm talking about. Let's freaking go. The Raizia is now here, which is not ashable. It's not adding. It's setting into the back row. A good way to play around Droll and Ash. We have the Rescue Ace HQ returning 4 cards in the graveyard or banished back of the deck to draw a card. And just like that, Dino freaking Morphia in the top 16. Yes. And we were just talking about this. Decks that are not considered great, still doing well because you have a player that is passionate for the deck. Passion for the Dinomorphia for no other reason than the Rex term and its great effects and not the Kentra Gina itself is why you are seeing this in the top 16. And you two yourself could pretty much pick out any deck you want and do as well as them. All right, Gargolo losing game 1, going first. Reinforcing our hand, come to us, Air Lifter. All right, let's get to it. Let's do it. A ton of back row cards in our hand. Therizia, we're going to chain the Impulse to the Therizia to summon a monster from the deck. We're also going to contain her. The Impulse needs to be the direct chain link to the monster activating on the field in order to activate. And just like that, Therizia is not going to be usable for the extra deck. Set 5 pass. Ain't no way. Little Knight on summon, banishing one of the back row cards. 1 of 2 Solemn Judgments are now gone. We're going to rescue our Airlifter. Airlifter, activate, come to me, rescue Ace HQ. We're going to talk about the back row cards in a bit. We're going to be probably using the Preventer to flip the Therizia face down within the end phase. Now, let's talk about this. Solemn Judgment can stop almost everything except monster effects. A summon, it can negate, and it will even invalidate that summon being properly summoned, so it's not rebornable from the graveyard. We then have the Dinomorphia Frenzy, which could go into the Rex turn, which will make it so any monster that is less than the life points is only activatable. We then have the Dinomorphia intact counter trap, so we're not going to be able to chain anything to this. We can't chain the SP Little Knight to the intact activating to negate and destroy, but it's only activatable if we control a Dinomorphia card. While we're momentarily flipping up the Dinomorphia Frenzy, it is activatable because we control a Dinomorphia card, so the Ash onto the Frenzy would be ideal, and then intact to negate the Ash while the Frenzy's face up is going to be our play. Let's go. But the problem is the Extinguish. But with the problem, we have the answer, which is Solemn. So Solemn Extinguish, intact on the Ash, that's going to be the turn. Let's go. Frenzy it up. Ash negate. Intact negate. Solemn Judgment, the Extinguish. All right, let's go. Rex Termin. Rex Term. It's a problem. Is there a problem? I don't think so. The Little Knight. Ooh, okay, we're doing Kentragina. Kentragina's going to send from the extra deck here. Come forth and set it up. Banish from the grave. Hydrant allowing the use of the Contain. Solemn Judgment onto Contain. Thus, we still have the activatable Extinguish. We needed the other Solemn Judgment. Had the Little Knight banished the second copy of the Dinomorphia intact, we would have been good with the second Solemn Judgment. We had it. And now Rex Term is here. Unfortunately, will fall victim to that Extinguish, which we have no way to stop. We're going to reduce everyone's attack to 250 attack, 250 Little Knight. Now she really is little. Hydrant activating to grab a Turbulence. Come to me. Yeah, just scoop it up. It is that Extinguish. We really needed that second Solemn Judgment to be able to protect us. All right, good job, good job. All righty, let's get to it. Let's do it. Pot of pee, digging deep. Come to me. What do we want among these 6 cards? We are going to be grabbing a Dinomorphia Domain. Now, Thrisia is going to be threatened by the Gamma. Unfortunately, we have no way to stop it. The Call of the Grave also would have not been activatable on that Gamma. Negate and destroy. So we are just going to have the Solemn Judgment. Now, the Wannabe is going to be really good here, potentially. Reveal 5 cards, set any trap among those 5. Do we want another Solemn Judgment? Instead, we're grabbing an Alert. So let's talk about the plays we have here. There's a Triple Tactics Talent, which this is a different duel, right? We have, with the Dinomorphia Alert, we could reborn 2 monsters from the grave. We have Domain, which we could use the Kentragina to copy the Domain to then summon a Rex Term, getting our life points down to at least 2,000 life so that we could activate the Ferret Flames. Anything more than 2,000 attack will be shuffled on the field, non-targeting back into the deck. Let's go. Hydrant, Chain, Fire Engine, Dinomorphia, Domain, half our life points come forth and summon. Let's do it. I think Triple Tactics Talent was just in both duels, right? All right, Kentragina, trigger, come forth and summon the Fire Engine. Kentragina is now going to be paying half our life. Shokan into that Rex Term. We're going to have the Solemn Judgment negate that Triple Tactics Talent. Hydrant activating, grabbing an Impulse in the deck. We could save our Rex Term for a monster that's 3,000 or more attacking into it to reduce its attack. We're going to Shokan into an SP Little Knight. Now, the fear here is if we Solemn Judgment the Little Knight, then we're going to get Triple Tactics Talented. So we possibly, before the Little Knight was summoned, we probably should have maybe reduced our life points to 1,000 before it could be summoned, because now we're in this situation where we're kind of screwed. Oof! Solemn Judgment, thus we're now susceptible to the Triple Tactics Talent. Yoink! Come to me, Rex Term. Now, you still have Ferret Flames, which could shuffle the entire field back into the deck, so it's not over. Now, Original Sinful's not activatable unless you have a face-up card to send. If we shuffle everything right here, right now, the Original Sinful's no good. And that's exactly what we're doing. Shuffle the face-up field back into the deck. Dinomorphia Alert, reborning the Kentragina from the grave at 3,500 attack. Let's do it. Kentragina, copy the effect of the alert, further reborning another monster from the grave. Come forth, Thrisia and Diplos to chain link block from, let's say, a Gamma. Diplo sending from the deck a card that we could copy through the effect of our Kentrogina. We now have quick effect, pop any card in the field. To battle we go. Quite a lot of damage so far. Very nice. And was there a reason? Okay, the newly summoned monsters cannot attack directly, I believe, with the alert, right? They cannot declare an attack the turn they're summoned. Okay, that makes sense. Impulse is here. We're going to Chain Frenzy. Ash Blossom negate the Frenzy. Trap Trick will be grabbing from the deck what? Now, by activating Trap Trick, we could only activate a trap once more for the rest of this turn, grabbing a Dinomorphia Domain. With the Domain, we could send Kentrogina to summon a Rex turn. We're going to use Kentrogina to copy the effect of the Frenzy, chaining Impulse to summon a body from the deck, now down to 63 life points. This is it. Hydrant is here, send from the deck an extra deck, making our Rex turn. If we activate the Rex turn to set the Hydrant to half of 63, they cannot use the Hydrant, but they could use Original Sinful to send Hydrant to summon another copy of the Hydrant, then we're potentially having an issue. What are we doing? We just allowed the Hydrant to activate, realizing that we actually have no other plays available. Rex turn, Dinomorphia advancing into the top 8. Just what I love to see. Astro, let's go. Yes, yes, yes. And that is the end of the top 16. I greatly appreciate you for watching this far. If you hop on over to top 8 and grand finale with the top deck list within the next video, we're going to start off with Rescue Ace again versus Dinomorphia again into the top 8. Let's see how far they could go. Thank you very much. Let's go.